A couple times a year we get a new design for the ninja team in Ninjago, and every single time we do get it revealed, it always causes a large discussion on whether or not that outfit is actually good. And I do think it's a very interesting discussion because we do get a lot of fantastic designs and we also get a lot of okay designs, maybe even sometimes a bad design. But I think that's the interesting aspect when it comes to Ninjago's designs, because everyone does like it and it's always going to be the favourite for someone. So in similar vein to the Lloyd video that I did last week, I'm going to be doing the next installment of ranking every ninja design, and this week is going to be Kai, and like last week, I put the tier list in the description and also my blue sky. So if you do want to do this list for yourself, send it on over to me and I would definitely like to see what your list is. But yeah, this time we're going to be doing Kai, and of course, like with the Lloyd one, I want to emphasize above all else that this is an opinion. If you do have any disagreements, let me know in the comments, but let's keep things civil. But my criteria personally is how well does it work as a ninja uniform, how good does it look on the ninja specifically, and do I like the overall feel, the vibe, the colors, all those little different aspects. But before we do get into the Kai list, I do want to do one thing quickly. And that is quickly move over to the Lloyd tier list from last time. Of course, this is how I left it, but I have made a new addition, which is add in the actual Lloyd outfit from the newest part of Dragon's Rising. Of course, not trying to influence or spoil that season whatsoever because it's not officially released, but the suit is revealed, so I thought I would give it a rank. And personally speaking, and I feel like people are going to disagree with it because I know a lot of people don't really like this suit by the looks of it, I do think it's possibly at the bottom of greats, because I do enjoy the overall feel. I like the shoulder pad, I like the overall aesthetic. It's very reminiscent of Rogue, I will say that. I like the color, the flow, it's just a nice little outfit. And I do like the fact it's a half mask over a full hood. I think it just has a very nice finish. But other than that, I do just want to do one more thing, which is, well, bring Avatar Lloyd down. I think I was a bit generous there. And on the Ijitsu Lloyd, I think I'm going to bring that one up as well, because I did realize I think I prefer it over each of those suits. But yeah, those are the adjustments to the Lloyd ones. If you haven't seen the Lloyd tier list, go take a look. But those are the adjustments I'm going to make for that for now. But then, of course, we do have the actual Kai tier list, and these are all the ones I put in here. I think there's going to be some ones that you may wonder why. There's a couple of course, left out. There's no Blacksmith Kais, there's no Wu's T Kais from Season 5, there's nothing like that, but I have included the two general outfits. You know, we've got the Flaming Shogun here, we've got the Trainer Kai here, we have got ones like that. If you don't like this list, I get why, but this felt like the most logical list at the time. I've also included Green Ninja Kai here as well, just because. But yeah, this is the list I've gone with. If there's any here that you feel like are missing, if there's any you feel like there should be here, just let me know and I'll let you know where they would sit. But of course, we have got the first one, which is the Pilot Kai, and personally speaking, we're going to start out with a very solid great. I think a lot of people are going to wonder why it's not on best. Personally, for me, I think even though it fits the purpose that it is, it's meant to be as training gi, it's meant to be to start out, I do think it's still just there, really. It's not really amongst the greats. There's so many designs that we have for Kai that are just outstanding, and I just think this one doesn't really belong in best because of it. Of course, I can appreciate what it is, and I am very nostalgic for it, but I do think overall it's just quite a solid one, but it's not best because it's got a nice consistent color to it. I do appreciate the colors of it, but the thing is that there's not really much in the way of depth, there's not really much in the way of difference in color, and especially when some of the other suits really accomplish this, I do think that's one of the main detractors for me. But it is still great, and I do still really love the suit, but of course there is just better for it. But in that time, he did in fact get a second variant, which is of course the DX uniform. And I'm going to be honest, I go between liking this outfit and not liking this outfit quite often. At times I think it's a really cool one and it has a really nice print. Other times it looks a bit too much like a non-ninja uniform, especially when the mask itself is actually off. But I do still think it's great. I don't think it's as good as the training gi, but like I said, with how much I divert when it comes to it, it is difficult to determine. Some days it's up here, some days it's probably down here. So I think it's a good place to put it in best, because I do still like it. I think, like I said, for me, it is just the fact that when you take off the hood, it does sometimes just look like he's not really wearing a ninja uniform. It looks almost like he's just wearing a t-shirt, which I think is kind of a throw-off, and I think it's the main reason why I'm not the biggest fan of it on some days. But I still do think it's a really nice-looking outfit, and I do think it's a really nice variant of the training uniform. But the thing is, like I said, it just has those days where I just go, maybe not. If I didn't, it would, like I said, it would probably be in best. But I can't ignore those days where I just simply don't like it. This is definitely one of those ones where I feel like people could disagree. I honestly reckon I could hear people saying it's bad. I think I could hear some people saying it's best. So let me know on this one. I think the DX uniform is one of the more controversial ones in that regard, or at least one of the more divisive ones. So yeah, let me know. But that is where I'm putting DX. Although then after that we do get to the casual Kai, and I will say I left this in because I have put casual Lloyd into the Lloyd tier list. Of course, this is the variant without the hat. The hat one I will say is bad. The hat is distracting, but I do think it's a solid one. I do again prefer his movie outfit, the casual movie look, but I don't think we really got one outside of that, outside of those two more specifically. But I do still think it's good. But I do just think it has those moments where I go, it's a bit simple. I honestly do think the main detractor for me is the fact that it's got no leg printing. I think Kai as a character, at least at the time he was using this outfit, he was very flashy, he was very much the show-off-man kind of person, so I do think it's a bit weird to see that he never even had any sort of printing. I think it's just a little too plain. And like I said, when you add on the hat as well, I just don't really like the hat on him in general, but I could honestly make the same argument for Fedora Lloyd. But the thing is that I really do like the torso print. I like the print on the underside. I bounce between whether or not it's actually fire or his elemental symbol. I really cannot tell. I think it's his elemental symbol. But the thing is, it's a really nice thing looking regardless. And I will also say, I wish we did have this print in hand. But unfortunately we don't. But I do still think overall it's just good. I don't think it's great, because I do again think the movie outfit is a lot better. But overall, it is still a nice one to see. But then after that, of course, came ZX, and I do think a lot of people were surprised that I put ZX at the very first when it came to Lloyd. I will say, ZX Kai is still in best. I don't think it will be taking the #1 slot like Lloyd did, but I do still really like this design. The red and the gold, I think, just flow really well. It's got a really nice aspect of dark red to it as well, of course, going across the top of the torso and down the arms, which I do think really does complement it. I think the only downside for me is, again, probably the leg printing, because whilst he does have some, the thing is that oftentimes it does get covered up a lot by the actual movement of the legs, and this actually applies to the minifigure as well. And because of it, it leads to it looking almost too plain, especially when you've got one like Cole, for example, where his ZX legs are very detailed. I do just think it's a bit unfortunate to see, because he does kind of need a little more, especially considering how detailed it actually is. But apart from that, like the torso up is absolutely astounding. I think all of it's absolutely amazing. I think it flows perfectly, and for that reason, it's definitely up there in best. Although I will say, I don't understand personally why I added this, but I definitely wanted to have it in here regardless. Of course, it is Child's ZX Kai, and I feel like it is just this one, but worse, because it really amplifies the problem with the leg printing. I'm probably just going to put it in okay, because it still has all the great aspects of ZX, but it just really amplified the problem with the legs. And obviously, I'm not really caring for this one. I don't think about it too much. You think of this one, not this one. So it's okay, because it's not bad. Just a quick summary of it, I guess, is just the fact that, of course, it still has all the amazing aspects of ZX. It just, like I said, amplifies the problem with the leg printing. And for that reason, it does make it worse, and I wouldn't really put it in the good category because of it. But honestly, it's still just a cool little what if to see. It would be cool if we did get official print of all the Child Ninja. Of course, it would be very easy to make custom, but it would be a cool thing. Maybe one day we'll get a CMF, but who knows. But overall, it's the best aspects of Kai, but really amplifying the worst aspect, but you don't really think about this suit anyways. To be honest, it would have felt like a bit of a criminal activity if I didn't include the Green Ninja Kai. Of course, we barely saw it, but I felt like I had to include it regardless. Of course, it is just the ZX Lloyd, just with the 1990s Green Ninja hood, and of course, It's fine. I mean, it's a fun gag. I think that's the main thing. But I do think it's still a great because it is cool to see Kai in the Green Ninja suit anyways. And of course, a lot of people wanted Kai to be the Green Ninja. So I think for that reason, I'll give it a great because it is a cool thing and I love the ZX outfit anyways. So yeah. It's a really cool what if suit to me. I think that's the main thing. I think it just has this really cool moment of like, this is what it could have been. And of course, it does speak a lot to Kai's character at the time, which I can also appreciate. And it is a fun little variant of the ZX outfit. Of course, having the 1990s hood instead of the actual ZX hood, I did actually make a theory about that at one point. So there is that. But the thing is that I do honestly think it's just a cool variant, and of course seeing Kai wear it is quite fun to see regardless. So honestly, it's a fun little what if suit. I can appreciate for what it is. It puts a smile on my face. I have a custom of this Kai. But then moving on, we of course have Kimono Kai, and I feel like you already know my opinion on the kimono suits because of how much I talked about Lloyd's. It's at the top of best. It just has to be. I think it's absolutely stellar, and let me explain why. For me, it's honestly just the best combination of a lot of different colors and a lot of different aspects. A very oriental kind of kimono robe. I do think it has a very nice and professional look to it. I think it really does make the ninja feel united, makes them feel very accomplished. I think it makes them feel just very official in a lot of weird ways. And the Kai colors just works. I have to say, the gold, the red, the black, it all just comes together and it has possibly the best of the kimono looks. I think it's just an absolutely amazing looking piece, and I think there's absolutely no issue with it. I just think it's basically perfect. I just don't really have much of an issue with the kimono suits in general, of course, spoiling every other one, but But the thing is that, like I said, the color, the fit, the feel, all of it just has an amazing overall aesthetic to it. And to this day, there's some of my favorite minifigures, there's some of my favorite suits, they're just some of my favorite ninja outfits in general, and also pairing it up with some of my favorite ninja weapons as well. Yeah, just 10 out of 10 all round for me, honestly. But then we actually get to Rebooted, and I have to be a bit fair. I don't really like the Rebooted suits for a couple different reasons. I mean, of course, I had an appreciation for the Lloyd one. The Lloyd one is probably my favorite one, but this one is probably at the bottom of okay. I considered bad. For me, the Rebooted suits is just simply a bit too much of the wrong things. Of course, no leg printing is a massive detractor for me. The half mask is fine, it was the first instance of it, and the actual torso itself just didn't really feel like a ninja suit in a really weird way. It looked like a weird representation of a ninja suit. I don't mind the fire effects, but that was about it. Of course, the ninja for a while didn't even have gloves on the suits either, which I think was a big detractor. But the thing is that it's just a really weird suit. One I just don't really like to come back to, and one I just don't really care for in general. This may be where I get a lot of different opinions, but ultimately speaking, I just don't really like this one. Although, then you do get the instance of the golden rebooted Kai, which I can appreciate it for what it is. I think it's cool conceptually, but of course it is just the rebooted look, just in gold. I'm gonna give it the top of good. I will give it that at the very least. But the thing is that it still just has the exact same problems of this one. But ultimately, it's still better. It's difficult to figure this one out because I do think a lot of people really like the golden variant specifically. I will say I really like the minifigure variant of it. I do think that one's quite good, but that's because it has got leg printing. But the thing is that this one, even though the colors are cool, the moment's cool, all those different parts of it is cool, it's still just got the same design flaws that I pointed out with the rebooted suit. So I'll give it good, but that's the best I can really do for it. And then you got Astronaut Kai. I'm leaving this in here because Astronaut Lloyd was in here as well. Ironically, I would probably take it over Rebooted Kai because at least it has something cool conceptually. But I do think, again, I might get some flack for that. I mean, it's just a cool concept though, isn't it? Of course, the whole thing of do ninja belong in space is always an eternal battle. But the thing is that it still just has some cool aspects to it. I do think Kai in particular, at least, could have utilized his elemental power a bit better in space. I mean, you can make the argument that fire wouldn't even work in space because of no oxygen. But the thing is that it's still an interesting one to see. Conceptually speaking, it's quite unique as well. So I'll give it an okay, and I will give it above Rebooted because at least it has a better concept. Although finally back to the good suits, we have got a stone armor Kai, which I do like. Again, I wish there was leg printing, the minifigure at least fixed that, but I do still really like this one. We don't really get a lot of Kai and silver, so I do think this stands out because of it. I mean, you can look, I can't see anyone else that really takes this on. Of course, you have got like the gunmetal shoulder pads in this era, but I do think this is the only instance of true silver and red. So I am going to give it best. But again, that does mainly come down to the fact that there is no leg printing. Of course, again, like ZX, everything from the torso up is absolutely amazing. But the thing is that simply put, it just needed leg printing, but that's just an issue with the stone armor figures in general. But ultimately, I do still think it's really cool. I like the detailing. Like I said, I really like the colors. I do still prefer the other two over this one, but that's not exactly to say that this one's bad. It's just simply one at the best. I don't know how else to really put it, but I really like this one. Although after that we got to the Flaming Shogun. Yeah, I don't like this look. I don't like it at all. For me, honestly, it's that really weird leotard that he's wearing. I don't like it whatsoever. It looks loose on him. It looks strange on him. I don't appreciate it. It looks like he's like trying to be like a wrestler. I think that was always my takeaway from it. But it just doesn't really work. I don't care for the mask. I think the arms are cool, but of course it works specifically in this instance. But that's kind of the only redeeming aspect of it. I just don't really care for it outside of that. I thought I'd include it because why not? But I just think it's a bit of a bad one. But don't worry, we did then get to Tournament Kai. I know a lot of people were concerned about the fact that I put the Tournament Lloyd in good. I will say I do prefer Tournament Kai. I will put him at the bottom of great, and I do think that's quite a good spot for it, to be honest with you. You guys are just going to have to accept my tournament slander for a little longer because I promise the other two tournament suits I actually really like. But the thing is that the Kai one, I really like the colors. It has a really nice aspect of black to it as well. I do think it's a great suit. I just think the sleeveless look doesn't really fit Kai specifically. Of course, Kai has had a fair few instances of sleeveless looks, but the thing to me is just the fact that the sleeveless look, in my opinion, has always been the one that suited Cole. I just don't really know if it was something really for Kai, because I don't know if it really fits him. But that might be where you disagree with me, so let me know if you do. But overall, it's still great. I do still think it's really cool. He also had some really cool scenes in this suit, mainly the one where he versed Ash. But overall, it is still great. After that, though, did come the Jungle Robes, and I do think Kai is debatably the best version of the Jungle Robe. I'm contemplating best, I will say that. And I think I am going to put him in there. I feel like I could make an argument just for him to be at the top of great. I do think great is a really good spot for the Zukin suits, but the thing is that I really do like the variant of Kai specifically. I do think a lot of the ninja had really good Zukin suits, and overall I just think Kai did it best, so I think for that reason he kind of has to go where I'm describing it. But like I said, it's got a really nice design. I like the red and the brown. I like all the different aspects to it. I like the elemental symbol on his hood. I think he has a lot of really good aspects to it. I think the only thing for me is that I wish they utilized maybe a little bit more of the dark red. Unfortunately, it's only really on the belt for him, so I do wish he did get a little more than that, but I do still think for that reason he's still best. Although you do then get to Deepstone Kai, and I will say I really do like the Deepstone Kai look. It does have the exact same compliments I can give Kimono Kai, so I do think for that reason it's definitely going to be going up in best, but I do still prefer Kimono. Like I said, it does still adopt those same color schemes. Of course, having the red, it has the black, and it does have accents of gold. I will just say the main difference between this one and Kimono is the fact that it adopts definitely a lot more black than it does red. And I do think for that reason, the Kimono one is better, but that doesn't take away from how good this one looks. I will say the dual molded mask I think is really nice. The black and the red do go nice together. I do like the torso and the legs. The black shoulder pads are also a very nice touch. So I do think it has got some really nice aspects to it. I do just prefer the color palette of Kimono though. But overall, I do still think that the Deepstone suit is fantastic, and the Kai one is definitely one of the better ones of the bunch, so for that reason, it has to be at the top of best. After that though, did actually come the future Kai variant. Of course, we get to see it briefly, so I definitely thought I would mention it, and I will say, I do like the design. Seeing Kai in this older state I think is very interesting. I would like to see if this ever does come into play in modern Ninjago. But the thing is, I do like the look of it, and I do think it's the top of great. Of course, unfortunately, we never get to see it in action, we never get to see a full established shot of it, and I do wish we did, but I do like the overall feel of it. The white and the red go quite well together, of course now having that really nice gold center with the black as well. I think the colors flow amazingly. I like the Kai head design, of course it's just then his regular hair, but I do like all these different aspects of Kai in this future variant. I just think it has a really cool aesthetic of it. I hope we do get a minifigure of it one day, but unfortunately I'm starting to lose hope a little bit because it has been a while since we've gotten a future ninja in actual minifigure form. But it's still nice. I do still think it has a lot of amazing aspects to it, and I do think it's a standout for the Kais. But then after Future Kai is of course Skybound Kai, or Eijitsu Kai specifically, and I know a lot of people did wonder why I put the Lloyd in good. Of course I've now fixed it since. Funnily enough, as I was premiering this video, I realized how low I truly put it, so I was like, wait a minute, I need to fix this. But I will say, I always did prefer the Kai look, because it has got, again, like these two, the same color palette, but this one does do the color palette a lot better. I don't think it's number 3, I think it's probably here for Kai. I definitely think this is where you realize that I have a preference for the black, red, and gold aesthetic. I do think it functions really well, I do think it definitely builds off of the kimono and the deep stone look, but I do think, even though I really like it, the other ones are better. I think it mainly just comes down to the fact that even though it's like almost a hybrid of the two, I do just think it could have been a bit better in some ways, and honestly, I do just prefer the other ones for a lot of different reasons. But that doesn't take away how much I do like the Eijitsu suit. I feel like people are going to start to wonder if I don't like them, but I promise, I do like the Eijitsu outfit. I think I just like the other ones better. But honestly, overall, it's still in best for a reason. I do think it's one of the good ones, so please don't hate me in the comments. After this though did come the honor robe, and this is one where I had a very difficult time trying to decide what I wanted to do with it. I mean, there are a lot of different reasons why I really like this one, there's a lot of reasons I really don't like this one. I'm probably, no, last minute changing my mind. I tempted myself to put it in great, because even though it completely expands on the pilot suit, and in my opinion makes it a lot better, it actually fixes my issues with the pilot suit, I considered putting it in great simply because, even though how much I enjoy it, I wouldn't really put it next to the other ones, but that doesn't mean I don't like it. I think it's really nice. Like I said, it expands on the color palette of the pilot suit. It has that brown shoulder pad, which I think is really nice, and of course has a different variant of the dual molded head, or the dual molded mask more specifically, sorry. But the thing is that even though I do really like it and I love this suit a lot, I do think the other ones just have a more special place in my heart. But the thing is that now I'm thinking about it, if I don't put it in best, I feel like I'd almost be a bit disappointed in myself. I do think it's a really nice suit, and it's definitely a minifigure that I come back to a lot. So I think it's one of those ones where I could probably put it in best. By the time this is premiering, I would probably put it in great. It differs a lot. It's honestly the equivalent of some of the other suits in this list. I'd say mainly DX, but I do think it's in best more often than it's not. So I'll put it in best. I do like this one, let me know what you think. Although then we did get Fusion, and again, the Fusion suit is one that I change my mind on a lot. I will say, I do really like this one. I think it's got a lot of really cool aspects to it, and I think for that reason it's probably going to go top of great. I think the main thing this suit has over maybe like the Lloyd suit for example, is the fact that I really do like how the color flows on this one. The dark red and the light red are almost seamless, and of course having that really tiny bit of gold on the symbol, I definitely think had a really nice ending to it. And I do think the black arms and shoulder pads work a lot better, again, than the Lloyd suit. I just think this one does all the Lloyd aspects, but just a lot better, and I do think for that reason it's definitely up there, and it's definitely one of the more memorable Fusion suits to me. But yeah, I think for that reason it has to be top of great. I really like this suit, so yeah, After that though is then when we get into the Oni trilogy, and we're going to start with the Sons of Garmadon suit. Or is this called the... I don't actually remember what the name of the suit is, to be honest with you. But yeah, I do like this suit. Again, I have my problems with the movie mask, so it is a detractor for me, but I really do like the rest of it. But I do... it's a difficult one. I think I'd put it there. This again definitely feels like a suit that I changed my opinion on a lot. I do think it has a lot of really good aspects to it, but a lot that isn't. I do think, again, it has a really nice color palette. I do think it flows quite well. I will say it's definitely one of the more plain looking of the Sons of Garmadon suits. I think it's very simple and to the point, but that's not exactly a bad thing. But the thing is, again, is the fact that it does have the movie mask. So I think that's honestly the biggest detractor for me, is one that I don't really care for, in particular when it comes to masks. But I do like the rest of it, even though it is a little more simplified. But I do think for that reason it's still a great one, because it's definitely memorable to me. I definitely have fond memories of this suit, and I do really like the minifigure. So yeah, I do think if I don't give it great, I'm doing no justice to it. But yeah, let me know what you think of this one as well. Although we did then get to Hunted after that, and I will say this image that I picked for Hunted Kai, I don't really think does a lot of justice. I mean, you'll probably see a better image of it in a minute anyway, but I do think it's probably at the bottom of goods. I mean, the thing is, the main difference for me when it came to Lloyd's suit in comparison to the other ninja suits is the fact that in Hunted, the suit works, and it works really well. I think it's really cool aesthetic. It's definitely one of the more unique looking Kais. Of course, he's missing a sleeve. He has all the chainmail on him. I think it's quite a unique one for that. But the thing is that the suit itself just doesn't work outside of its season, whereas all the other suits, you can make an argument that it does. I can't think of any other suit that's hyper season dependent. I mean, you could obviously make the argument for any of them, like DX is only for riding dragons, for example. But the thing is that you could still chuck the DX suit in on another season and it would be fine. Main example being Cole in season 4. But the thing is that this suit just doesn't work outside of it, and as much as I think I like it, it has got to have that factor to it. So for that reason, good. Although then you do get to the Legacy suit, or the March of the Oni suit, and in similar vein to Lloyd, I do really like this outfit, but I don't like it better than any of these ones. I adore this suit. I want to make it abundantly clear, I absolutely adore the suit. But when I do make these tier lists, I do compare it to what's in the other tiers. And I will say, as much as I love Season 10 Kai, I definitely think the other ones I would pick above it. Whereas the Lloyd one, I probably wouldn't have. But the thing is, I really like this suit, but it does honestly kind of have the same things that I said about Pilot Kai, which is I wish there was maybe a little more dark red in it. But again, I didn't make that argument for Lloyd, so I guess also it's a bit of a weird one. But I do like this one. I like the mask, I like the feel, I do like the overall aesthetic to it. I like the gold dragon over the front. I think the only thing for me is that I wish the gold dragon maybe had a little more to it. It just looks like it was placed there. The rest of the suit just looks a little too plain in comparison, whereas the Lloyd suit didn't. But I do still think this is a great suit. I love Legacy Kai, you know, best minifigure of all time, very expensive. But the thing is that I just think the other ones are just a little bit better. After that is Season 11 Kai. And I kind of have a different opinion on this all the time. Initially, I really did not like this suit. Initially, this suit probably would have been in bad. I just didn't like the torso of it. But I've really warmed up to this suit over time. But it's still probably only good. I think for me, it's the torso. I think the torso almost looks strange. I can't put my finger on it. I don't know what it is. I think it's the fact you can also see a lot of like his neck and his collar as well underneath the hood. I think that almost throws me off. But again, it just looks a bit strange. It doesn't flow weirdly. I don't know what it is. I really can't put my finger on it. I'm hoping someone has the exact same opinion as me, but actually knows how to explain it properly, because as much as I've seen this suit, as much as I like the minifigure of it, the thing is that I just really can't figure out my actual issue with the suit. But every time I look at it, something about it just looks wrong, and I don't know how else to put it. So, if someone can like point me in the direction on how to explain it, please. But honestly, it's good, but I just don't know how else to figure out what it is. Although during the time where we had this suit, we did then get the episode with, of course, Anime Kai. Yeah, actually, Actually, yeah, Flaming Shogun's it's not bad. I will say that I actually do prefer the Kai to Lloyd. I think the Lloyd is like really bad, but the thing is that the Kai is just bad. I mean, I do, like I said, I prefer it to the Lloyd, but I don't really think that's saying too much. To be honest, there is only one ninja whose anime design will not be put in bad. I'm not spoiling who that is yet, but there is one. But the thing is that I just don't really like the look of it. I just think the Kai design doesn't really flow. I think it does take the good aspects of the Season 11 design and ruins it. I just don't really think it's that good. And also, Kai's hair just doesn't really translate well to 2D or this general aesthetic. I just don't really care for it, to be honest with you. I just don't like it. I don't like the 2D designs. I really want to make a video on the whole 2D thing. After that then actually did come, of course, the Prime Empire Kai. This is the actual suit and not the avatar. But I'm going to be honest, again, I might have to put this one in bad. But again, just hear me out. Is it just me or does the red look off? That's kind of my argument for this one. The red on this Kai looks very washed out. It looks very faded. It doesn't really look too deep of a red. I mean, look at it next to the other Kais. It's not really a deep red whatsoever. And it got to the point where I wondered if it was just the shot I picked of him. But like in most scenes with this version of Kai, the red just looks washed out. I don't like it. I just think it flows really weirdly, and then I think it makes the white look weird. I don't really like pairing up the blue lights with the red as well. I just think all the aspects of this suit really don't translate well to Kai, and for that reason, I'm gonna be honest, it's kind of bad. To the point where I even prefer Avatar Kai. I know people aren't really a biggest fan of this one, obviously blonde hair and all. I still think this is just an okay one, but it's better than this. For me, I mean, the red on this Kai is better. I mean, it is just quite literally better. I mean, I don't really care for the blonde hair. I just don't really think it's that good. The red across his eyes is too much of a Harumi callback for me, and for that reason, I just don't really care for it. I like the torso. I mean, he is sleeveless, and I don't think sleeveless really suits Kai, but the thing is that this one almost kind of works, and the legs are just the Season 11 legs. So it's okay, it has got some cool aspects to it, but there's just a lot on it that I just don't really care about. But like I said, I definitely prefer it to Digikai, because that one is just, I just don't know what it is with that one. But yeah, Prime Empire wasn't a good time for Kai. But luckily then, obviously Master of the Mountain came along and gave us, again, just a really nice Kai. This Kai definitely feels very reminiscent of the ZX Kai. I do like this one. Probably the bottom of great. For me, again, like I said, just taking a lot of really cool aspects of ZX and kind of amplifying it. Again, it's just the Season 11 legs, nothing different with the legs itself, which is nah. I like the gold, I do like all the plating, I do like the mask. I do think, again, the gold and the red do flow really well. I think it's just got a really nice feel to it. And I do think for that reason I'm going to be putting in great. I just think it's a really cool variation, like a knight or like a gladiator variant of Kai. So I do think for that reason I'm going to give him that love. But again, I feel like people may disagree with me on that one. After that did come Island Kai, and I mean, I love the island suits. I think a lot of people do really like the island suits. For that reason, it's probably going to be in best. I do just think it flows really well. Again, I like all the dark red and the light red coming together, all the little bits of gold. I think the mask is really cool, having the headband as well. I do think this version of Kai just does all those aspects that you really want in a Kai, and I just think he does it really well for that reason. It's a shame we didn't get this outfit more, to be honest, because I just think it flows really well. But again, that's just kind of a compliment to the Island Ninja in general. There's not a bad Island Ninja by any stretch of the imagination, so this one feels quite clean cut. I would like to know if someone doesn't really like the Island Ninja. I'd be surprised if there was. But yeah, he's definitely in best. Although, speaking of best, definitely not this Kai. This is, of course, the trainer Kai for the start of Seabound. I added him in here because I did put Flaming Shogun. I'd probably just here. I think it does it just marginally better than the Flaming Shogun. Of course, they are fit for different purposes, but again, it's a cool little like theoretical what if Kai was a teacher kind of look. Again, sleeveless, you know my thoughts on that. But the torso itself and the legs are fine, a little plain, but I do think it's a really cool little suit to actually have. It was a nice little one-off. It'd be cool to get it in minifigure form. We probably wouldn't, but it's cool to see it and go, oh, that was a cool little one for what it was. But speaking of cool for what it was, I mean, the black suit Kai from Crystallized, I mean, I said similar with Lloyd. It's very simple, very to the point. It's just a plain black suit with Kai's head on it, really. But I can appreciate for what it is. We never really had a Kai variant like this before, so it's cool to see a version of Kai with it. I would probably put it at the top of okay for that reason. I prefer it to these. But the thing is that it's nice. It's a cool little one. I think you can't really not appreciate it. But there's not really much more to say about it outside of that. I mean, like I said, it's just a plain black suit, really. Of course, it had its purpose. They did what they had to do with it. But that was really about it. I mean, you can't really complain. It didn't overstay its welcome. I think you can very much give it that. I'd like to know if anyone like really dislikes these suits or really likes these suits. I don't really think there's a way to be a big fan either way. But yeah, it's nice. Although, speaking of nice, I mean the fugitive suits, you know how I feel about these. Honestly, I could make an argument. I do just think these suits flow really well. I just think overall the aesthetic's nice, the coloring's nice, they're very unified when the ninja all wore them together. I just think it has all the best aspects of a Wild Brain suit and just dials it up to 100. Like I said, the colors work, the vibe works, the aesthetic works. I just can't really point out an issue with these actual suits. If anyone does have an issue with these suits, I would love to know what it is, because personally speaking, I just can't really see it. But yeah, it's a top 3 for me. After that, then, of course, came the gold variant of it, which, you know, I know a lot of people don't really care for these suits. I do personally like them. I could make an argument for it being in best. Probably here. I think that's a nice place to put it, to be honest. I do like the gold. I really do. Again, the ninja also look quite unified in this. Of course, I'm not a big fan of the Lloyd one, like you saw hopefully in the last video, but I do think the actual ninja themselves do look really good with these suits. I mean, the gold and the red do look really well with each other. I really like the mask, and I just like how it flows. Of course, then having aspects of the fugitive suit, again, being very unified with the ninja as well. I do just think it has a lot of really nice aspects to it that I just think you can't really ignore. And again, for that reason, it's definitely best for me. Dragon's form Kai is a very weird one for me. And that's kind of because as much as I can appreciate them for what it is, I don't really know how I feel about these suits, to be honest. Probably here. The thing for me is that it's just kind of gimmicky. I mean, I can appreciate them, but at the same time, I just don't really care at the same time. I think it has got its moments. I think it has got a really cool aspect to it. It looks cool with the other ninja. I just think, in particular, these are just suits that I just don't really care for. I like the minifigures, but again, I feel similar to it as I do with Golden Kai. It's kind of there for the moment. Obviously, you wouldn't see it outside of this. It's a really weird one to honestly look at. So, is there anyone who, like, Dragon Form Kai, 10 out of 10, best suit ever? Because I would love to know the reasoning. I just don't really see it, to be honest. Although, speaking of not really seeing it, I mean, I know a lot of people don't really like the core suits in general. I do actually like core Kai, though. I don't like the amount of orange on the one side of him. So for that reason, it's probably going to be good by here. But I definitely can appreciate it for what it is. I do just think the core Kai is just a really cool one. Or what's he called? Dojo Kai? I think that's the official listing for him. But I do actually appreciate this suit for what it is. I think it's a cool aesthetic. It's a very Wild Brain era suit, I will give it that, but I do think it has got a lot of cool aspects to it. I think the colors flow well for what they are. Like I said, I don't care for the orange. I do like the actual leg printing as well. It's better than Lloyd's, and again, just generally speaking, I think it's got a cool aesthetic for what it actually is. Again, I would like to know if there's anyone who particularly likes or dislikes the core suits. I think it's difficult to dislike them for what they honestly are, but again, that's the freedom of, opinion. Speaking of freedom of opinion, though, I do know Merge Kai, or the Merge suits in general, I do know some people don't really care for these suits. I'd like to know if there's anyone who has him, like here, for example. For me, personally, he's probably somewhere in great. I don't actually know where I'd want to put him specifically. Probably here. Actually, probably there. I will say, initially speaking, I didn't really care for the merged suits, and to this day, in terms of their actual minifigure, I don't really like how the masks work. It's a shame you can't really give them that scarfed up look, essentially, without taking a knife to one of your actual, mask piece for Lloyd or Kai, for example. But I do like the suit. It's very red. I do wish there was a little more black maybe in it, but ultimately, like I said, I have kind of come around to these suits. I can appreciate them for what they are. I do think at one point it probably would have been like okay for me, but like I said, it's definitely grown on me, especially the more I've watched Dragon's Rising Season 1. But yeah, I do like this suit for what it is. I do think for that reason it's great. I would like to know if anyone disagrees, because that was where I was at one point. Maybe you can convince me back. After that did actually come Mech Suit Kai, and I remember when this suit was first revealed, I initially thought I wasn't really gonna like it, but now we've actually seen it, I actually do think it's got a lot of really nice aspects to it. I do think it's very solid. I really like the mask. I like the flow of the gold and all the red. I do think it's better than Merge Kai. Probably here. I think it works perfectly next to Legacy. I do just think it has a really nice flow of colors. I do think the design is quite alright. I know a lot of people don't care for the mech suit outfits because they don't really feel like ninja suits in particular. But of course, they were meant to coincide with those elemental mechs. Of course, all the ninja didn't get them, so there is that to it. But I do like the Kai. I do like how the Kai's suit flows. I do think it just has a very solid design. And honestly, definitely one of the better Dragon's Rising ones. But again, I would like to know what you guys think of that one. Kaima Kai, again, I do think is really cool. I know a lot of people don't really care for the Climber Ninja, but for me, it's probably up there, to be honest. I can make an argument it's up by here and best. Again, I really like the flow of the suits. I do like all the different colors to it, all the different aspects, all the detailing. I think all the yellow and all the red, the darker red, look really good together. Again, having the same issue with the masks, but I do just prefer this one overall. I know, again, like I said, I know a lot of people don't care for the climber suits. A lot of people, I've seen them describe them as a bit too bulky, but for me, I don't really see it that way. I think the suits flow really well, honestly, for what they are. But again, I would like to know what you think on this one. Because, like I said, personally, I think these are great. I love the fact that they've stuck around. And like I said, I hope they do for a little longer. But I do think we're slowly phasing out of seeing these ones. But again, they're nice. The second to last is this version. I don't actually remember the name of this one. Like Storm Kai or something like that. I do think, again, the complaints with the mask are definitely staying. Again, as well, the overall design doesn't really feel too much like a ninja suit. I do think it has got that issue with it. So, it's difficult to determine this one. I'd probably put it somewhere in goods because I do think those little aspects are a detractor. I do think the mask itself is just in particular weird. I think the rest of the suits I can kind of turn a blind eye to, but I think a lot of people can't really ignore the fact that this suit doesn't really feel like a ninja suit. And I think overall, I think for that reason it has to only be good, because a part of that I can appreciate it for what it is. But I just think it has got those small aspects to it that I think just makes it a little bit difficult to actually understand and enjoy, I think, if anything. But like I said, I can appreciate the suit for what it is. I don't mind it. There are definitely some I prefer the look of, but I'll get to those soon. But the thing is that this Kai overall is just good. I don't really have any particular issue with it, but again, it just has those small little nitpicks. But last but definitely not the least is, of course, the new version of Kai. Again, I don't fully remember the name of this Kai. I do apologize. I do like this Kai. He's very bright, he's very vibrant, which I guess you could argue is not really a quality of a ninja suit, but I like the shoulder aesthetic, I like the overall pattern, similar to Lloyd, of course. Definitely looks like they've taken some inspiration from Rogue, so I can appreciate that for what it is. I think it's a great. I definitely think it's there in terms of great. I do prefer Mech. I think it belongs there, to be honest with you. I just think this has a really nice feel to it. I think it's a really nice look for Kai. I think it's honestly quite just a nice looking suit. I know a lot of people don't really care for these suits. I do understand the issues with these suits, but definitely for me, I just think I can appreciate the flow of it. I think I can appreciate the coloring of it. It takes the core colors and actually makes it work. Of course, you can see aspects of orange in there. So I definitely think for that reason, it's great because it does just take a lot of different suits and definitely improves it. And like I said, I really like that new shoulder piece. I hope it sticks around. Very reminiscent of Dragon Master. But yeah, I like this one. But that is my tier list, and let me know what you think of it. I do think I'm very top heavy when it comes to Kai, but in my opinion, Kai very rarely actually misses. But yeah, I would definitely say my favorite of his suits is definitely Kimono. I love the Kimono suit in general, and I do just think Kai has a very nice color scheme for it. Of course, Deepstone Fugitive, a lot of really nice suits to be honest with you. I feel like I've been harsh on a couple of them, mainly Rebooted and Prime Empire, but I definitely stand by it because those issues I have with it, like I said, Rebooted Kai not really looking like a ninja suit, and Digi Kai just feeling very washed out. I do think it's very valid to actually have. But yeah, this is my list. Let me know what you think of it. And like I said, I have left in the description the tier list that I have made for these Kai outfits. So if you do want to do this tier list yourself, definitely send it on over to me because I do want to see it. I know a couple of you guys did for the Lloyd one, and I really enjoyed it. But yeah, let me know what you think. What is your favorite Kai design? What's your least favorite Kai design? Is there anything in this list you particularly disagree with? But like I said, please keep things civil in the comments. It's nice to just have fun. But yeah, that is about it for today, you guys. Thank you for watching. Let me know which ninja you want to see next time. But yeah, take care. Okay.